Hi, this is Maria Quattrone, and this is the Be the Solution podcast. Welcome this morning, my guest, Kelli Salter.
Good morning.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. At 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
Welcome, Kelli Salter from North Carolina. I'm so excited to talk with you today, Kelli, about how you got into real estate and how you launched in such a short time your real estate company, Anchor Realty.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here this morning, Maria. Thank you.
You're welcome. Exciting times ahead for you. So let's get right into it. You got into the real estate business. What year was it?
2015.
2015. So a short 7 years ago, you entered and you joined a team. Is that correct?
So I started as an individual agent.
Okay.
I started on my own. Really, like many new agents, struggled to sort of figure out how this whole real estate game worked. I joined a very, very large franchise brokerage here in our area. After about the first 3 months, I found my groove. And our son was in that summer of my first year, our son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And at that point is when I joined a team because I really, really needed the support of a team. And it fell into alignment in our world. And so I spent about 3 or 4 years on a team, rose to being the top producing agent on that team, and decided to go back out on my own.
So let's go back for a second. Why real estate?
That's a great question, Maria. Okay, so why real estate? So I worked this sassy corporate gig that was awesome and nuts. I worked for the CEO of a publicly traded company. I was his right hand, which parlayed beautifully into an indie brokerage. But we had so much fun. We went public with 2 subsidiary companies. So startup games, that's the game that I love. So we decided to start our family. And I was traveling back and forth from North Carolina to Maryland every week. And so all throughout my pregnancy, all throughout Andrew's first year, like Andrew and I traveled from North Carolina to Maryland. I had a nanny in Maryland. We lived out of a hotel. It was not ideal. And so my husband and I decided, like, hey, we're going to bring it home. And what is it that we really want? We had always dreamed of owning long-term investment properties. So having portfolios, mailbox money, what he is an active duty Marine. And so what did life look like after 20? So did we want to work? If we didn't want to pursue careers after he retired, how could we sustain the life that we wanted? And we knew that real estate was a great avenue to keep those income streams coming. So I said, well, what better way than to get my real estate license, learn the game, and build our portfolio while he was in the Marine Corps. I did not know that it would lead me to exactly where I was supposed to be and exactly what I was supposed to do with my life, which is to coach, train, and lead agents. And so what started out as, we're just going to be long-term investors, actually turned into, no, this is your calling. This is what you are truly supposed to do. So it's always funny how those things work out.
It is always funny how those things work out, for sure. That's cool. I could see you being somebody's right-hand person at some point in time back in the day.
Back in the
Because
day at 22.
it makes sense because you're a good operator, and a good operator it helps if you are either that visionary marketing person, right? Or you're a good second for somebody.
Mhm.
And then sometimes the seconds move into that first position. So that's super cool. I love that story. So what did you have to, in order to get to like where you are, from leaving the team to, what was the pivotal decision to leave the team to go ahead out on your own? And don't tell me it was somebody else.
I wanted more. I wanted more. So I was beginning to see that I had more to offer, and I had more to offer agents, and I had more to offer my clients, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. And I knew that I had reached the point where I had run out of runway. And so I needed to move in order to continue my growth as a real estate agent, and then also then to move into having our own brokerage and our own team.
And so you opened up Anchor Realty last year. Has it been you opened up in your garage or your home office, or
My bonus room of my house.
your bonus room?
So we left our franchise brokerage in September of 2020. We worked out of my bonus room of my house for about 6 months while we built out the office here. And I would love to tell you that we thought about it. We had this grand plan. We didn't. I walked in on a Friday, and I adore, still to this day, my broker at my last firm. And I said, today is my last day. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to open my own real estate firm. And they wished us the best. We cleaned out my office, and that was it. So it took us a while to get this office built out. A couple of us worked. So it was me and one other person. And then right before Christmas, we brought on a third agent. We worked from coffee shops in my bonus room, and we opened this office to the public in May of last year. Mm-hmm.
So you had a few people with you before that. So the company was open and running. You just didn't have your facility yet until May.
Yes, and it was a couple of us. We certainly did not have 25 in production at that point.
Yeah, wow. I know about that. Those are tough days. And even when you reach tough days all the time in real estate, but when you're building a business, you have different levels of scale. So you get to the first, it's tough, and then you get somewhere, and then it becomes tough again, and then you get somewhere and it's tough again. So I know you have, your family is super important to you, and your son with his medical challenges. I know that that's a lot. How do you prioritize and keep it all in check?
Balance comes up a lot, and it's not balance, it's flow. So when I was it was a real estate agent. I'm largely out of production at this point. So when I was selling, Andrew was in the thick of his pivotal growth phases where he needed some surgeries. None of them were here. And so we traveled all over the country. We've been everywhere. We've been to see the best neurosurgeon in the world in St. Louis. We've been to Gillette. We've been to Boston. We've been to Houston. We've been everywhere with him. And in 2019, he had 7 surgeries.
Oh my gosh.
And I sold 74 houses. So what did that look like? It did not look nearly as neat and tidy as when I tell the story years later, but it looked a lot like I was mom when I needed to be mom, and I was realtor when I needed to be realtor. And real estate is the vehicle that has let us have everything we ever wanted, and also to have Andrew and Andrew's care be the number one priority in our life. So we structured our world to where I did therapy with him post-surgery in the morning. We either did daycare or a nanny in the afternoon. My husband was still serving. So we did a lot of hot swaps on the side of the highway. We did a lot of, hey, let's go have dinner together. And then we would put Andrew to bed, and I would come back to the office and work for several hours. I still do it. They tease me and say, sometimes when people come home from the bar, the light is on here at the office, and they know that I'm here at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock on a Saturday morning. But it's allowed us to have a really nice flow to where I can be mom, but I can also be the realtor that my clients need, the team leader that our team needs, and to be the business owner that the business needs. It just doesn't look like balance. It looks a lot like flow. And I think where a lot of people get caught up is they seek balance, whatever that means. And
I hear it all the time.
We really understand that we can create boundaries around our life, and I can be everything I need to be to whom I need to be it with, and still be very, very successful, be a very present mom, be, I think a halfway decent wife. We can ask Michael about that, but he's not getting up a bus trip out of here anytime soon. I don't think. I think it's too much fun for him. It's every day is an adventure. But it's not balance. I can be everything I need to be, and show up when and where I need to be there, and I mean, do it all, because we've defined what it all means.
So real estate, it really is the vehicle. We talk about that often. It's a vehicle to be able to pursue your dreams and build your dreams. And we're not real estate. And we get, a lot of people anyway, we get caught up in that we are real estate. No, we're Kelly, we're Maria. And actually, we're not even Kelly and Maria. We're some like little soul trying to find its way. We just look like or Maria or Kelly. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother different podcast of Be the Solution. So tell me today, I mean, you've accomplished a lot in a short amount of time. I mean, what did you have to overcome to do that?
We have faced some really big challenges in our life. I can tell a super great story and I can spin it however I want to spin it. But the truth of the matter is my corporate career ended abruptly and crushed my soul in the process. And so we had a lot of fun. I mean, I started with them when I was 22 and left for a short time, took a super fun gig. They called me back and said, we want you to work for the CEO. And really, as young as we were and the kind of money that they were fanning around, it was life-changing money for us to be as young as we were. And when we decided to start our family, we were right in the middle of going public. And it all sort of happened unexpectedly, faster than we had imagined. And I knew that the corporate world was not a place for a present mom. And I obviously had some challenges during during my pregnancy with Andrew. And I'll never forget the day. I've never told this story, Maria. I'll never forget the day that we were in Annie Parham at the hospital, and I got a Google alert that they had named a new chief of staff. And that was the job. That was the job that was my next step, was the chief of staff role. And it had been given to somebody else with no notice, no courtesy call, no, hey, this is about to hit this is about to hit AP News. And I'll never forget how I felt that day.
Yeah.
As a,
like your heart sunk.
Oh, it was, yes. Because quite honestly, I had left the office on a Friday, came back home to North Carolina. On Saturday, we had massive complications, and I texted them from the back of a critical care ambulance on the way to a level 3 NICU. And my mom was with me in Annie Parham that day when that news wire hit. And we went down and we just watched the world. I'm going to cry, Maria. I've never cried on anybody's podcast before, but we just watched the world go by, and nobody knew what to say. But what I knew was it was over. And it crushed me, because what we had worked so hard for had been given to somebody else. And I knew in that moment that as a young mom, I was never going to make it. And nor did we want to. And see, this is the overcoming piece, because it wasn't until years later, and I used to, even, they're not here now and they're not here on purpose, but for years after I began to sell real estate, I kept all of our tombstones, all of our deal toys, all of the pictures from us going public in my real estate office. And what I had to overcome was what I felt was a failure in the corporate space, because I felt that I had failed my life, my career, by not being able to be the mom I wanted to be and the professional that I wanted to be. And so I was coming home I had taken a red-eye flight from, we had to have been in Anaheim to Raleigh. And we live about 2 hours from Raleigh. And I was on my way home from Raleigh. And I just remember sobbing on the way home. And I said, you have to let it go. You have to let it go. You have to let your corporate career go. You have to, and now many years later, I can look back and say, we have to honor what it was. We have to acknowledge what it was, love it for what it was, and understand everything that it wasn't. And it was great as a wife of a very, very active duty Marine who spent the vast majority of our marriage in the Middle East. And I could give my corporate gig 120 hours a week, every waking hour. We worked around the clock. It was great for what it was. But I had to forgive myself for it ending, and understand that I was I was like maybe 30, not even 30, like I was probably 28 or 29 when this happened. Like, you've got the rest of your life ahead of you, kid. Like, don't let, like, the pinnacle of your career is not going to be at 26 years old standing on the trading floor of Goldman. Like, you have such a bright future ahead of you. And at the time, we didn't necessarily know what it looked like, but what I had to overcome as a mom and a professional and, you know, a woman in leadership is that it was okay to let all of that go so that I could go be who it was that I really, really, really wanted to be. And it was a very, very long journey of forgiveness and acknowledging and hope for what was to be. And now I can look back with an office full of very powerful, very, very young women, and who are all mothers, who I get the opportunity to empower on a daily basis for them to go build their dreams and to go be everything they've ever wanted to be. But I wouldn't be able to breathe that kind of life into them as women and as moms if we had not gone through all those years of hell of me having to overcome what we had been through.
Now you're making me cry.
I know, I've never told that. But let me be clear. I appreciate them for everything that they were. I learned so much. I mean, you don't go from, you know, opening an office to, you know, 25 in production and a huge brand and a dominant internet presence without the kind of experience that I got very, very early in my career. Like,
no doubt, Kelli.
Incredible. It wasn't going to be my forever job.
No, you had to go through that experience to be where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have been able to do what you've done with opening your company and being the operator you are without having had that past experience.
Yes.
And you had to go through that pain to get there. But although we never know why we're going through what we're going through, because we did everything right. You did everything right then. It wasn't, but you wanted a different path. You didn't even know that you were going on a different path. So that is an amazing story, Kelli. You should share it with more people. It is, I think it's important. I think it's really important for people to understand, you know, what had to happen for this to happen, right? Like, I tell my story back when I was very young in my 20s and how I was in the advertising world and what that was like and how painful it was, like literally painful in a different way than your story. Of course, we have our own journeys, but I never would have been able to enter the real estate industry and come out of the gates like I did in the sales back when I started without the previous experience and pain, right? And then it just goes on from there. So here we are. It's, February 2nd. Oh, I love this date. 2/2/22. This is a great date.
Please tell me that winter's over. We were just talking about how cold it is. Like,
wait, this is a great date. February 2/2/22. 2 is my favorite number. So lucky day today. 2/2/22. So we're at February 2nd. And what is in store for you and your company and the agents that you lead? What's your long-term goals and where do you see yourself and your company going over the next 5 years?
We are on a mission. So I'm on a mission and they're on a mission to change the way real estate is done in our area. So we are a transient community, military community.
Right.
And we truly want to change the way it's done. And for so long, I've shared the corporate journey at this point. And for so long, I tried to bring corporate Washington, D.C. to Eastern North Carolina real estate. And then I was like, let's not do that. Let's go be everybody's best friend. And so now, just about, you get a blazer and jeans about every day. Let's go lead the way for all these people who are moving to our area or leaving our area to have the most seamless real estate transaction and the easiest transition in to our community that we can. And I've shared before that oftentimes we are our client's first friend here. So we say you're only a client until you walk through the door, and then your family. And we mean it. And because people move here because they're told to move here, not because this is the place that they've always dreamed of. That's not, for some people it is. But most people get told that they're coming here.
Sure.
So where do I take my kids? Okay, we've just traveled from halfway around the world, or we've just gone on an 8-day trek from California. Like, please tell me, where can I take my children? And I'm like, you know what? We got you. Where do I get my haircut? Where do we go to the grocery store? It's moving to a completely different place. And we are their first line of defense or their ambassador to our area. So we really want to change the way that things are done. So how do we do that? Well, we do that through our community. We do it through having the most educated agents in the market. So, and I tell them, you can come here and you can decide we're not for you, and that's okay. And we're going to love you from here, and we're going to root you on from here. But I'm going to know one thing, and that's, I taught you how to sell real estate. So when we enter the market with you, when we enter a transaction with you, I know that you know how to sell real estate because you sat in my office. And I expose my folks to the best in the business, present company included. They are incredibly, incredibly well trained. They are focused and driven. They know what they're committed to, and they know why they do it. And so I believe that when we raise up real estate agents in a spirit of collaboration, and we focus on the professional aspect of understanding that you are helping somebody with the biggest transaction of their life. Like, we are not playing tiddlywinks. Like, we are helping people buy and sell real estate. That's a pretty big deal. I believe that we raise the industry, and that's my mission. And to change a few lives in the process. I've got some ladies in here who made double what they've ever made in 6 months in real estate. I've got one that will turn 21 on Monday, and she will make 6 figures this year. That's life-changing money at 21. And
that's life-changing money for a lot of people.
It is life-changing.
Especially,
yes.
What's the average household income in your?
Probably 35 or 40.
Yeah. We're like 46, so in Philadelphia market. So yeah, $100,000 is no joke.
So how does
that happen?
And how do we teach them at 21 how to turn that into long-term streams of income? How do we show them to, I've got agents that are talking about sending kids to college and they're in grade school. Like, I have agents that talk about how, they want their kids' lives to be different than theirs in these 3 ways. There's a great story that floats around here about shoes. And when the agent came here, it's a big jump from a regular 9 to 5, you get paid every other week, to a commission only gig. Like that's tough. And her mom had bought her daughter 2 pair of shoes. That agent did extremely well this year, or in 2021. And so when we went to the board, so many of us know that activity, but going to the board is declaring your commitments and what it's going to do for you personally. She began to talk about things that were long-term for her children, cars, college, those sorts of things. And I had to ask her, I said, so tell us about the shoes. And she said, my baby now has an entire row of shoes of every kind, sparkly, pink, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we have it. And she said, and some days I revisit her room to remember what it was like to have my mom buy those shoes. And now I can. Like, what's the vision for 5 years is to multiply that at scale and watch them be able to take their kids to Disney World and to buy their investment properties and to change a lot of lives in the process with the buying and selling of real estate. And
tell me about, Kelli, because I know what I'm hearing you say is you bring in 8 new agents, it sounds like.
I love new agents. Yes.
So tell us what
I do.
What does your program with them look like? What is how do you onboard them? How do you train them? If somebody wants to join your company, what does it look like?
I would love to tell you. Maybe I hope when we have this conversation, like in a year, I can give you like this beautiful laid out plan of what it looks like. We baptize them by fire. It's fantastic, but we smile the whole time, so they never know they were baptized by fire. But we include them, which is converse to what some people do, and that's they send them to boot camp, and they're all together for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, however long. We immediately integrate them into our experienced agents.
Mm-hmm.
They go do life with us. They go do real estate with us. They go to listing appointments with us. They go to buyer appointments with us. They go to showings. We do, it got called Realtoring 101. That wasn't my intention, but that
what is it called?
Realtoring 101.
Oh, really?
We pick a topic. It stuck. Like it was, you know how that goes. We'll never be able to, I'll come up with some pithy name and I'll never be able to shake Realtoring 101. But we pick a topic, and whatever they're struggling with, that's where we go. And they're immediately given archived leads to go learn to be hung up on, go learn how to talk to people.
On day
one. Because I want them to learn to love the phone. And I have an agent, I actually looked yesterday in the last 7 days, my group has put up almost 1,800 dials. I've got an agent that consistently makes, $300, $400, $500 dials a week. And, she leads the team in production. So it's funny how
it's called work works.
Yeah.
Work works.
Yes.
I said I've never seen anyone do the work that wasn't successful.
Yes, exactly.
Real estate's math.
Exactly. But what we also do that is wildly helpful is we do small groups. So I have 4 small groups going with oversight from me and my admin that they go do life together. They go do real estate together. They're all in a text messaging group together. They commit to something once a week. They're mini masterminds. And so you think back when you started your real estate career, if you had a mini mastermind to hop into, if you had a question, you knew who to go ask. I've got 4 or 5 people in that group that I can go and I can look to for advice. I can look to for support. I can look to, and each one of them has at least one agent that was in my original accountability group. So they know how things run. They know the inner workings of the company. They know, and they'll hold each other accountable. And it's this beautiful cataclysmic event of productivity for brand new agents. And I've got agents that have been with me less than a month and they're writing contracts. And it ain't perfect. And I tell them up front, if you are looking for perfection, please keep it moving, because we are not perfect. We are a brokerage of a ton of working moms. At any point, there is a kid running up and down the hall. Like there's blippies on in the next room. Like we are not perfect, but what we are is committed to doing life and to doing real estate together and living our purpose and living our best life.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful mess is what
and
it
messy. Listen, it's beautiful and it's messy and you love it.
I do. I tell them all the time, I am the luckiest girl in the whole world. Like I don't know how I got picked to lead them and love them, but it wakes me up before the sun and it puts me to bed long after midnight sometimes. But I am the luckiest girl in the world to get to do this with them.
That's amazing. So inspiring. Oh, Dami said so inspiring. Hi, Dami. Dami's a new agent with us.
Oh, fantastic.
So
you are in a perfect spot.
She just started and we do a sales training, Rise in Real Estate.
Uh-huh.
And it's a 2-week thing, but by week 2, they're on the phone. So week 1 is like learning how to use the CRM because you have to do that, and learning LP Mama. That's kind of important. We need to know the questions to ask, and paperwork takes like a whole day. Onboarding all the systems. Yeah. Anyway, and then by week 2, on day 2 of week 2, you're on the phones, and the goal is to set 5 appointments that week. So she set last week 10 appointments. She had a showing on Saturday, signed 6 buyer agency contracts, and have 4 more to do, all because she worked the system and the follow-up box and followed the instructions.
Exactly. That's it's funny because you activity is the leading indicator. I mean, that is, and the grind is so hard at the beginning, but the flow when you get it down is unmatched. So my encouragement is do the work, do the work, do the work.
Do the work.
And you're going to reap all the rewards, my friend.
Absolutely. There's no limit to what you can do in real estate.
There's not. And that's the fun part.
Which is why I love it. So tell me, what are some of the biggest challenges you're working through right now? Like what are you challenged with?
Right now. Okay. So we are a startup and we run some days like a startup. So we are pursuing the EOS system and the entrepreneurial operating system at the brokerage level. So I'm restructuring the property management department of our firm.
Mhm.
And
How many doors do you have now?
60.
60 doors?
60
Okay.
doors. Yes. We'll have 150 by the end of the year. I'm speaking that into existence right here
Okay.
on the Business
Good.
Solutions podcast. So we're moving who was our property manager into the integrator role, and to grasp a greater structure to the brokerage. And that is probably the hardest part of being an indie, is you're everything. Like when you're great, you're responsible for it being great. And when it's awful, you're responsible for it being awful. There's nothing to lean on. It's just you. And so for a lot of things, our success over the last year has been sheer force. And we're moving that into more structure. So just like you asked the question about, what does onboarding and what does training look like? Well, when we get that move and our integrator is in that position, we're looking at adding those sorts of structured pieces where, okay, this is onboarding and you're going to come in and for 2 weeks, we're going to formalize what is that organic training right now. Because it's not broken, but it doesn't run like I would like it to. And so
right. I mean, you constantly have to evolve.
Yes.
Even when you're this size, it works like this. And then when you get like this, you have to rewrite the whole thing. I just rewrote the whole thing.
We're constantly pen in hand.
What?
Pen in hand, always rewriting it. For me, I write on the walls of my office.
I heard about the writing of the walls. The clients can't come back there.
No, clients can't. We can't do podcasts back there either. Like, it's a disaster. So, but and on everything dry erase. That way I can erase it when I change my mind. And, but really, probably my biggest challenge at this point is not chasing the shiny objects, and being very, very focused on what it is that we want to accomplish. And, I am an interesting mix of the operator visionary. Like, I'm not a true visionary. So it's interesting how I run the place, because as much as I can see where I want us to go, I can also put the pieces in place to go pursue that. But not getting off course. And right now our focus is truly coaching the agents that we have into productivity. And so we are very much focused on taking them from first year agents. Most of them joined me in July of last year. So they were with me for 6 months. They've been with me for, about 9 now. Coaching them through that first year, and then really beginning to build their sphere so that they can generate their own business. And then also how to manage these databases of people who they're talking to so that nobody falls through the cracks. So Q1 of this year, we are less, you're going to gasp when I say this, but follow me here. We are less focused on bringing people into the brokerage as we are focused on the development. I wouldn't say training. I would say truly development of the people that we have in the brokerage. And so I want them to have extraordinarily strong foundations to go build massively productive businesses. Vice be very haphazard, like for most of us it was, and you don't actually figure out what you're doing until year 4. So really the biggest, maybe not the challenge, but the biggest focus at this point is development of our current agents.
And what does that look like? Are you using EOS as part of that or only for the operation side?
Just for operations right now. We're drilling hard into those small groups, really into development of their personal development, helping them understand things like sales psychology and scripting and how to be a friend to these people who are coming in. Because truly, I mean, we work with people that are coming from Japan and haven't lived in the States for 3 years. Or I have helped 2 clients actually. One had not been in the States in 18 years. His children had never lived in the States.
Wow.
They came here they came here for a short stint. They had to come back to the States because of the contract. And they immediately went back to Germany because their children effectively, while they were dual citizens, they were culturally, they were more German than they were, they had lived there for 18 years. That was the only thing their children knew. And so they very quickly went back as soon as they could. But I helped another family that they had been in, they'd been in Japan, and then they had been in Italy for 2 back-to-back tours. And they had not lived in the States in 6-7 years. And, in those situations, you really are the cultural piece as well. And, how do you cultivate that quickly on the phone? How do you build rapport very, very fast and be their agent, be the agent of choice for them? So just development.
Well, you have a lot of work ahead of you, a lot of stuff to do. So I always like to end on a positive note. Is there any books that you're reading or podcasts that you listen to that you're like, oh, you got to read this or you got to listen to this, that help inspire you or motivate or training or anything like that?
That is a great question. And almost everything I'm reading at this point is EOS related. So, traction, rocket fuel. Mm-hmm. What the heck is EOS? So that's a lot of what I'm focused on.
Yeah. And that is a lot. I mean, Gino Wickman and all of those, all of that is quite an undertaking. Mm-hmm. And do you have a facilitator?
Not yet. We're not quite there yet, but I've been given some names, so I'm doing a little bit of homework.
Okay. So by maybe Q2, you'll have that going, because I know it takes a couple years to get through the whole thing.
Yes.
A year, I think he said 18 to 21 months or something. And
that's the fun part. We start now.
Yeah, time's going by anyway.
We haven't. Well, the fun thing about us is, we haven't screwed much up yet. Being a baby company, we really haven't screwed much up yet. So
you have a long way to go.
It's friends like you and the circle that we sit in, though, that is has been most helpful. And that would be my piece of advice for if you're new. Find the right room. Find the right room. And if you're not in the right room, get up and move. Like, you go find the right room, whether it be somewhere locally, whether it be an online community, a mastermind, because oftentimes, what's the adage? You're the sum of the 5 people that you're closest with. Like, go find the 5 people that you want to be like. Go find the right circle, and the rest is going to fall into place.
If you sit in the room long enough, maybe you'll absorb some of it, right?
That's right.
I know, because I sat sitting in the room, absorbing, taking it all in. It's fun. I appreciate you, Kelli. I love your story. It was inspiring and super duper amazing because I know how hard it is to walk through that door. And when the one door closes and you don't even know if the other door is going to open or what that looks like, or how does all this come together? There's a plan. We
That's
don't know,
right.
the plan, but there is a plan.
That's right.
There's a plan already laid out for us. And then we get to decide, right?
That's right.
By taking the action. So thank you for being the solution for your family, your clients, your agents, in your community and Anchor Real Estate. And I appreciate you, and I'm blessed. And I wish you a fantastic 2022.
Thank you, Maria. You too.